Guys, once again, I am so blessed. I am so grateful for the response that I've been getting from everybody about this podcast. So I want to say thank you again for everybody who's watched. Again, if this podcast doesn't grow anymore than it already has, and it has grown a lot, then I want to just say thank you for some of the questions that I've been getting. And also, the other thing is, you guys have seen my guests are coming from completely different directions. Last week, we had, obviously, an ER doctor and a U.S. Air Force major flight surgeon come on here and talk about vaccines, which has nothing to do with the OnlyFans that Talia Paris was on here talking about. We try to make this thing very different. And my guest today is also a very interesting person. I have two guests, and there's a lot of reasons why I have them on here. Obviously, they're fascinating people. They have a terrific YouTube series, social media influencers, performers, all kinds of stuff like that. But the other thing is they have a functioning relationship in Las Vegas, Nevada, which is fucking incredible. I'm not kidding. That fact that they're able to pull this off is absolutely fantastic. So with me, my guests today are Claudia Fijal and Dan Stevens. How are you guys doing?
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Awesome.
Very excited to be here.
Definitely. There's so many things I want to get into. Now, before we got on, just because I want to get to this right now, I have Flat Earth Dave has reached out to me, and he is, I talk about this every week. I want to have a Flat Earther on here. So Flat Earth Dave has reached out to me, and he's willing to come on. And I'm also probably going to have Kimberlina, DJ11, Kimmy Ann come on too, because she also has, I don't know if she believes the Earth is flat, but she has significant doubts about the moon landing in 1969. So we're going to have her on here too. Okay. And you had some questions about the flat Earth people. Sorry to get way off topic, but I want to talk about this.
I have one massive question.
Okay.
Where does it end?
Okay, so their belief is, so like think about a spherical globe that we look on, which is actually not a correct depiction of the Earth. The Earth is what's called an oblate spheroid, meaning it's thicker or it's wider at the equator and narrower at the poles. So now, because of centrifugal force, the Earth rotates at 1,100 miles per hour. So now what happens is these people believe that the Antarctica is not a circle, but or a round object. It actually goes around the edge of the plane that they consider the Earth, flat Earth to be on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
They think of the flat. Think of the flat Earth like the flat Earth is a circle, and in the middle of the circle would be like the Arctic Ocean or the North Pole.
Okay.
And the South Pole is actually spread out around the edge of the circle. And so when you get there, there's an ice wall. It is kind of ironic that they come up with this idea for the ice wall after 1992, when George R. R. Martin comes up with an idea for an ice wall in Game of Thrones. But it is the same kind of ice wall. So basically, you would get to Antarctica and you would not be able to go over the ice wall.
So where do you go?
So if you go over there, then you would either run into the firmament, or you would So one of the funny things about flat Earth theory is that they don't have it all pinned out. Like, for instance, I'll give you one of the big inconsistencies. They believe that their light only travels a certain distance, which of course we know in physics is not true. Light will attenuate over a long distance, but it goes 186,282 miles a second, and we can see objects that are 100 million light years away. So light does not have a finite distance of travel, but it does have a finite speed. Their belief is that when I see a ship go over the horizon, what I'm actually seeing is the end of that light. The light can no longer travel at that distance. And I'm like, okay, so what's that distance? Well, it can't even be 100 miles. It's got to be like 4 or 5 miles. It's like, yeah, 4 or 5 miles. Okay, so that means the sun is 4 or 5 miles in the sky. Now, all of a sudden, the science and the physics start to break down, and you start to see some of the problems. Oh, I'm having Flat Earth Dave on here, not because I'm trying to call him out.
I need to see this.
So I studied astrophysics in college as a minor, right? I didn't finish my minor, just to be clear, but I studied it. It's been a huge field of study for me, something that I've been very curious about for about 2 years. I read everything I can on physics and astrophysics. And so having these people who believe that the Earth is flat is just it's more about a fascination to me. But to me, it's more like in Game of Thrones. You guys ever watch Game of Thrones?
I haven't.
No. Okay, so if you watch Game of Thrones, it doesn't really matter. But let's just say the Silmarillion with Lord of the Rings. There's something like that, or the rules when it comes to Hogwarts, right? When you go to Hogwarts, there's like, if you go here, then you all of a sudden end up in this place, and you can't say these words in this room, and there's like rules to it, right? There's like a physics to it. There's a set of rules, right? Well, I wanted to learn about the rules for flat Earth, because I look at flat Earth just like like another form of fiction, like a really cool form of fiction. Although these people don't think it's fake, so I'm really excited to have them on here. And just like I said before, last week we had a thing where we were talking about vaccines, and I went and studied as much of anti-vax stuff as I could in order to have that episode. So I thought it's really fascinating to a lot of people. Nobody is going to watch this episode and go, oh, man, I think the Earth is flat, or now I think the Earth is round. I don't think that's the point. The point is just to be fascinated about other people's opinion about about things.
I'm very fascinated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people being like, why are you going to put this moron on here?
No, I think it's great.
And I know, of course, I want him to hear what he has to say. And by the way, some of these people are very smart. They're just not educated in certain ideas in certain parts. Anyway, so let's get back to this. All right. So I know you had this question. I know we got way off. So my guest here, Claudia Fijal, you were originally born in Krakow, Poland.
I was, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Do you ever go back there?
Last time I was back was 2014, and I would like to take my husband back because he's never been. But the problem with visiting Poland, or at least when you're European, if I go, I have to see every family member.
Okay.
Or they're going to be pissed.
Okay, so you do have a lot of active...
Everybody.
Okay.
Everybody. The only family I have in the States are my mom, dad, and younger brother. Everybody else is overseas. Everybody. So you moved to Chicago because there's a large Polish population there in Chicago? Second largest in the world, yeah.
Okay.
Next to, I think, Warsaw,
Warsaw,
right?
Chicago's number 2.
Chicago's number 2,
You speak Polish?
Fluently, yes.
Oh, that's incredible.
Speak something.
I hate when you do this to me because, like, I have to feel like I have, like, something I need to, like, have prepared to, like, speak. What would you like me to say, honey?
Boy, Michael, this is great.
Well, super, Michael, jestem bardzo... I don't fucking know.
That's cool how she does the neck thing, too. Her neck starts to do like this whenever
Dziękuję, że jestem na twoim podcast dzisiaj. Jestem bardzo excited.
You wouldn't even know her English is that good after hearing that.
It feels very like Russian. I know,
A little bit.
A little bit. Are there any common words between Polish and Russian?
Yeah.
A lot
I could
them?
understand Russian. I obviously can't speak it, but very similar.
That's incredible. Yeah. Okay, that's awesome. I had no idea. Dan, where are you from originally?
Chicago.
From Chicago originally. You guys met there in Chicago?
Kind of.
Kind of.
He stalked me.
Okay.
Well, easy. That's a great story.
Okay.
So what year was that?
2005.
Hot Import Nights? Do you remember Hot Import Nights?
I do remember Hot Import Nights.
Car show?
Yes.
So I had a touring Audi show car, and she was one of the models. So I was at a show in Minneapolis. I saw her on the poster, and I was like, wow, that girl is fire. I got to find her. So I found her MySpace. Sent her
2005.
Sent her was it a DM back then?
PM.
Yeah.
That's right.
Personal message, yeah.
Said I wanted to do a photo shoot with my car and you.
Yeah.
Which was bullshit. I just wanted to talk to her, right?
Right.
And then just in conversation.
Well, I mean, if you actually Hot Import Nights is bullshit if you really, break it down. The whole
yeah.
the whole
It was
point of it
all
was
rigged.
the whole point of it was for men to do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So, long story short, we chatted. She told me about her boyfriend. I wasn't gonna, be that guy, and we stayed in touch for years.
From 2005 to 2014, we've never physically met.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. From 2005 to 2014, about how many times would you guys say you would have communicated?
Probably like every 6 to 8 months.
Yeah.
Like, hey, how
every
are
6 to 8 months.
you?
Had you ever at any point, this is because we talk about this a lot on the show, had you at any point asked her for advice or anything, or vice versa, or was it you just keeping up with each other? Was there any friend stuff going on?
So at the time I was personal training.
Okay.
So I did help her like with her training, and
Okay.
her eating, which was great because I would have good amount of contact with her.
What I'm saying is there was legitimate friendship communication going on between the two of you
sure.
for
Yeah.
9 years.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And I can agree with that because when she eventually got married,
Yes.
she deleted me from Facebook because she didn't want me to see she was married.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, that's actually a pretty good sign there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I've seen that happen before. So that's the point I was trying to make is that you guys were able to maintain a friendship for 9 years before you actually ever met.
Physically
Yeah.
met.
Ever
yeah.
physically
Absolutely.
met. So that's something I have a lot of clients and a lot of friends who asked me this question before, and they're so terrified of being put in the friend zone. And what I keep telling them is don't get put in the friend zone. Just be a friend. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And then just kind of come to the understanding of when you get put in the friend zone, it's because you showed too much interest and then they're not interested in you. This is a situation where you're not showing too much interest. You're just like actually being a friend where I need help with stuff. And then I can't tell you how many times I've had female friends where I ask them for advice and then years later we end up dating because they see me in a light where it's like, oh, it turns out this guy's not a fucking psychopath. That's great.
Yeah.
It's great. Maybe we could date some.
I won't be in his trunk.
Exactly.
I'm winning.
There you go. Exactly. Exactly. All right, cool. So you guys met there and then what happened in 2014?
So I had a gym at the time outside Chicago, and I wanted to do a photo shoot of me and another girl naked in the shoot, but we'd have like dumbbells and things strategically placed, and the tagline would be, "We make you look good naked."
Yeah.
So I knew her. She was a model. I hit her up again to kind of see what was going on, but she's like, "Yeah, I'd love to do the shoot. I'll actually be in Chicago next week. I have a gig. Let's do it." And we did the shoot. It was strictly professional. No bullshit.
This was all through social media too, right?
All through social. At that
Again,
point, Instagram. Yeah.
I love the fact. Again, this goes back to proving my point. You guys were friends, and this whole thing went over social media. I argue with men about this every day. You keep going.
So she did the shoot. She actually charged me, as she probably should have.
Yeah.
But I like to use that against her. And we did the shoot, and there was just such chemistry.
Okay.
I mean, it was clear as day.
But mind you, we are butt naked, and we just met.
Okay.
And so 3 months before the shoot, I got my boobs done. So I was feeling so good about myself.
Okay.
And this whole shoot, we're oiled up. I'm sitting on top of him. And I'm like, this guy, I'm sorry, Mom, why is he not getting hard? He's not even like showing any form of
Wow.
I know.
No. Here's the thing. The fact that this is
I
what
know.
you were thinking.
I know.
Wow.
I know. As a woman, I know. And I'm like,
Well, she was insulted.
I'm insulted.
Really?
Yes. I'm like, is it me? I'm like, maybe he's gay. He's got to be gay. He has to be gay. Or maybe he's married and he's being like polite to his wife. I don't know.
No, I understand. Like, here's the thing. I know what Dan's gonna say. I already know because I would do the exact same thing Dan would do. But the fact that that's what you were thinking
It drove me nuts.
Literally, I'm reading a book basically about this right now about showing too much interest and then that's crazy. Anyway, Dan, what were you gonna say?
It was difficult.
Yeah.
But anything that I wasn't attracted to, I would just
focus
picture.
on. Yes.
I would just ingrain in my brain, bite inside my lip, whatever I had to do, because I knew if I showed interest, I was done.
Yeah.
Like every guy in the world in that situation would just go full speed ahead. And it worked because we did the shoot. It was great. We went to dinner. It was great. And she went back to Chicago to go back to the airport. And she texted me and she goes, all right, I got to ask you. How did you not get hard?
Okay, now this is crazy. So now, knowing now, but here's why this is so fascinating. Knowing now he was attracted to you and was actively trying not to show you that he was physically interested in you. You still found it to be charming, attractive, whatever, right?
Yeah, because he made me feel like I wasn't like a prize to be had, like every other guy. I was living in LA at the time.
Okay.
And you know how men are.
Fuck men. Yeah. Fuck, dude. That is the crazy. No, how men are there too.
Exactly. How everybody is.
It is. When Rihanna talked, I found love in a hopeless place.
Yeah.
I always thought, man, she is talking about Los Angeles, California.
For sure. Yeah. So knowing that, I was like, you know what? Now I respect you.
Yeah.
Because you actually look at me as a person.
Yeah.
Even though you're interested, you respect me. Like this was really cool to actually go to a gig where I'm naked and be respected, because I've done a lot of those where I haven't been.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, well now
I'm in, baby.
Yeah,
this is so great.
I like him. Yeah.
No, this is so. Again, this is not for me. This is great because you guys are like such a perfect illustration of things that I have been trying to talk about theoretically to people for the longest time about how, again, evolutionary psychology. But again, it's one of these situations where you have in your mind. Again, when you see Claudia, how many seconds did it take for you to tell that she was attractive?
It wasn't even
Not even
a second.
Okay, so now I want you to think about that. Right, you are all of us are the. We are the product of 300,000 years of Homo sapien evolution. And you have this skill where you could tell she was attractive in less than 1 second, right?
Right.
That's a skill. That is not, there's sometimes I can't tell necessarily about other things. Like I got to do math problems. That doesn't take me 1 second, right? There's other things where I'm not, from a long distance away, I can't tell what car that is. That's not always 1 second, but you could tell she was attractive in less than 1 second. So that means evolution gave you that skill set, right? Which 100%. Means there must be a contrapositive skill set for you also. You have to be able to tell that he's attractive, but for you, it can't just be physical attractiveness because that's not how men are judged generally.
Right.
So for you, there was a bunch of other things that you looked at, right? And so there's a term for it. It's called hypergamy. That's the name of the algorithm that women run in order to say this man's an alpha male, this man's a beta male. This is all theoretical, but from evolutionary studies. And then so this thing from him, you're like looking at him, and your brain, your evolutionary brain is like, well, what am I used to from every beta male? Right. They're going to get hard. They're going to hit on me. They're going to go after me as most aggressively as possible, because this is their only shot, and they got to take their shot as soon as they can. Exactly. And then you come across this individual, and he doesn't do that.
No.
And so now you're the part. Remember, part of his brain that can tell you're attractive like that. That same part of your brain is looking at him and is like, wait a second. He must have abundance in his life, right? This man must have something special going on in his life to where I don't matter as much as I do, because I'm sure your reactions in life are constantly being hit on. And so from an evolutionary standpoint, you probably had no control. It was just one of these things where you
sure.
just, yeah. That's incredible. That's
Absolutely.
what I'm saying. That's what you guys describe is just fantastic from that standpoint about taking something theoretical and then explaining it. Okay, so now you do the shoot. She goes off the airport. You were married though previously.
I was married.
How did that whole thing start and end?
So we were kind of like on the out and out, and it took Dan to kind of scoot me along my way and actually get a divorce, and
Well, and I knew that I looked at Facebook. I saw that there was a separation.
when photos start being deleted.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, I knew what I was looking at.
You start going to events by yourself and whatever. So he knew what was going on. He wasn't dumb. So we did the back and forth thing for forever. And then I was like, all right, what are we doing here? Like, I can't, go to LA and Chicago back and forth. Like,
But she was fortunate at that point in her career that she just needed an airport. If she was going to get a gig, she could fly anywhere. And it's like, I lived in Chicago with a major airport.
Okay.
So she could move from LA to Chicago. And
so I packed my stuff and I moved to Chicago.
Okay, so we're skipping a couple things here because I think a lot of people want to know how Dan goes, and then you guys are now serious. So now, what is the first date like afterwards? The first meeting, the first whatever, to where you started
after the
shoot? Yeah, after the shoot. And then my first question for you would be: the first time the two of you guys meet up afterwards, had you already made up your mind you really liked him, or was it something that happened during the date that happened?
No, I knew leaving that shoot.
You knew leaving that shoot. Okay, it was just going to be a matter of time. You were going to come back and see him.
I have to figure out logistics.
Has she ever told you this before? Did you know that she had already?
we
made up
both
her
knew.
mind? Okay,
We both knew.
Okay.
And our first, I would say, real date after that shoot, we did the distance things for almost a month from me in Chicago, her in LA, was actually, I flew out to LA to spend
2 weeks.
2 weeks with her. And then we actually went to a real date and,
Were you nervous?
No, because I knew this was it. Which it's very weird when they say it's 100% true because I was engaged before her and I knew that wasn't it.
Okay.
I knew every day this wasn't it. With her, there was no doubt.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Okay, so there was just no transition. You guys kind of knew on the way out.
Yeah.
On the way to the airport the first time, then you
For sure.
got it. Okay.
100%.
Yeah,
And when I got back to LA, I think we FaceTimed every day for 8-10 hours.
No exaggeration. I mean, I would be training a client. I would get off. I'd FaceTime her. I'd have another client in an hour, and we would do that.
And
all
sometimes
day.
he would cancel clients just to talk to me.
That's incredible.
I'm sorry, clients. I was doing what I needed to do. I love you all.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
it's weird. Like you said, when you know, it's very strange.
This is an idea I've heard and have not personally experienced.
Yeah.
So
and I think, how do I explain this? I think in some regards we're an anomaly, but when we
in some regards, are you fucking kidding? You guys are an anomaly in so many regards, and I have a list of them that we're going to go over. Keep going.
But when we came together, we were very honest about who we were and what we wanted.
Yes.
And a lot of couples aren't. These secrets, these skeletons come out of the closet as they get to know each other.
No shit.
It was first conversation, take me or leave it. That's it. And so we knew, all right, I'm in.
If you guys don't mind, or were there certain things that you would ask for? Because I've been open on this show before about certain things I asked for in a relationship that other people might not be okay with, but I'm very upfront about it. Could either one of you have things that you had for the other? Hey, take this or leave this.
Absolutely.
What were they?
Yeah.
Oh God. I mean, I don't want to say codependent because that's a terrible word, but the running joke is there's no Dan without Claudia and vice versa.
Right.
She doesn't do girls trips. I don't do guys trips.
Okay.
We truly believe you're married to your best friend.
Okay.
So for her to go out and go hang out with the girls, she's like, why would I want to go have fun
without my best friend? It doesn't make sense to me.
And we presented that in one of the first conversations. And if you told that to most people,
Who presented it? You or did her? Or you just both kind of had the same idea?
Because that was your issue with your ex, unfortunately. He wanted this independence, and you were like, this is not for me.
Right.
And with me, I'm like, oh my God, this is great.
You just want to be around each other all the time.
Yes.
It's insane.
Okay.
When he goes to the bathroom, I sit on the counter and we talk.
So very much like the cat I rescued.
Yes. Pretty much.
I rescued a third cat last night, by the way, just to let you know. Yeah.
Congrats.
So okay, now I kind of understand that.
Yeah.
Now, were there any other things? I'm aiming for something that's out of the ordinary that you guys have going on. Are you kidding? Seriously, you literally. I interviewed you guys in Miami and you brought it up.
We have a very open-minded relationship.
Keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
We like we love strip clubs. We love exaggerated parties, for lack of a better word. We love sex. We're very sexual.
Okay.
But we love these things together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like we're not a couple that I do my thing, she does her thing.
Got it.
Yeah.
Like, and that works for some people, and that's great.
Yes.
Like that's not our thing. We're not swingers. I'm going to say that publicly.
Right.
Like a lot of people, I think, rope swinging into anyone who's sexual.
Okay.
Right? Like not our thing. But we just have such a powerful connection physically, emotionally, spiritually, that we're very open-minded.
Okay.
Does that answer it?
What are you hinting at?
Come on, are you serious?
Tell me.
You know what I'm hitting at. Okay, so I literally go, I'm hitting at with the thing with me.
Yep.
I only date girls who like girls.
Yeah.
But I think, I'll say, I think every girl to some degree feels that way.
I don't think every girl thinks. I think every girl thinks that other women are attractive, but when it comes to actual sexual intercourse with another girl without even a guy being involved, I don't think
There's levels to it.
I think there's fewer than 10% of the population are like that.
Even let's say drunk, right? Because I don't consider a girl who's drunk who can hook up with a girl. That's not bisexual to me.
Correct.
But like
That's
if you're
curious.
drunk, you're not going to say, "Oh, I want to go hook up with Dan."
Right. So here's the thing. So we talked about this before. Dan, you and I, our heterosexuality is tied to our masculinity. This is not saying a homosexual man can't be masculine, but generally masculinity is tied to our heterosexuality. Femininity is not tied to heterosexuality. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand.
So what we have is we'll have different layers, and we've had different girls on here. Like Jessie Preston's bisexual. She talked about this also. We get to a situation where it's if we have a girl who's like, she'll take Molly every once in a while, or the camera will come out and she'll make out with some other girl. That's not bisexual.
No.
That is not bisexual.
It's bi-curious.
Right, correct. I'm talking about a woman who would like go on a date with another woman, right? And then if a guy wasn't there, or in a situation where I've been with most of the girls that I've been with recently, if I told them you can't see women anymore, they'd be like, well, fuck you, I'm not going to see you anymore, right? That is a completely different thing, and that's less than 10% of the population. And so that's why I'm saying, like, one of the problems that I've had, especially with a lot of men, is that they believe that all women are bisexual, and that's just not true. That's just definitely not. I'll say it right now. Marissa Everhart, I had a conversation with her, and she said, I absolutely will never kiss another woman. I am only interested in men, nothing else. And there was another girl in the car who I was talking to, and she's like, no, I love women all the time. I love women. I love men. It's just very fluid. So different people are different.
Sure,
that's the thing, right? And so the understanding for me, that was the thing that I learned, and I didn't understand that before until I got serious with somebody who was she mentioned before she went 7 years and wasn't with a single guy. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
Right.
I mean, I think in my experience with women, I feel like to some degree, like again, there's levels to it. I mean, men don't ever experiment with other men unless they truly are questioning their sexuality. Right. Where women will, and that doesn't mean they're necessarily bisexual. I mean, there's bi-curious, I'm bi-curious when I'm drunk. I mean, there's so many variables to it. But I think women are a lot more fluid in their sexuality.
Yeah, I think some are just like actually really comfortable with both, and some of them it's like, again, you guys have probably seen this before. I have friends, it's like once a year for my birthday, it's like the guy's like, oh, please have a threesome with me for my birthday. We'll just see, we'll drink some wine and we'll just see what happens. And then there have been women that I've dated and was like, who are we bringing home tonight? And I'm like, whoa, I wanted to watch Rick and Morty. Like, no, we're bringing a girl home tonight. For real? It's like, yeah, we're fucking, don't be a bitch. She'll look at me like, don't be a bitch. I'm like, all right, whatever you want, honey.
Whatever you want.
This is two different things, right? And I've seen the experience of both. And so I just was really interesting because when I've had some people on here and they're like, so for instance, when I had Coffee and Cleavage on here, they're just not into that at all.
Yeah.
Period. And then some other girls I talk to, they're like, that's absolutely fantastic. That's what I want. And then there's some that are like, I take it or leave it. Some relationships.
Well, I think the biggest message of all this, and whether we're talking about polyamory, swinging, thruples, whatever you want to call it, what works for one couple,
hell yeah,
may work great for another or absolutely be detrimental and suicide. And that's what I think people don't understand about anything that's not considered conventional. There's so many things working for so many different people. And most conventional, and I'm talking conventional white picket fence marriages that I know, are miserable.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. 53% of marriages in this country end in divorce, and 78% of those divorces are initiated by, guess who?
Cheating.
Women.
Oh,
they're initiated by females. So it is one of these situations where something is broken in it. And what I've talked about before is it's not the cheating, it's the lying. The lying is the problem, right? And the first thing you guys said is, this is who I am, and you will accept it, and then that's what made it work for the two of you.
Right.
Well, and I think that was probably one of our keys.
Yeah.
And it goes past, like, I mean, even just little things like, this is how I am in an argument. Like, I'm not a person that closes up their emotions. I want to talk about it to death. she wasn't like that, but she understood I was. So we could come to a common ground very early on and make it work.
So that was an issue. So do you not like confrontation?
I wasn't taught to communicate very well.
Okay.
My parents are Polish. I mean, I adore my parents, but I think the European culture in general, we just don't discuss things.
Yeah.
Like if you feel a certain way, okay, you feel it. Like you don't go home to your parents and you say, this happened at school today. This is what I feel. This is how I was made felt. None of that. Like none of that. So to me, if I was anxious, it was like, you'll be fine. If I was heartbroken, it's okay.
But you never kept score, right? It's one of those. So that's the main issue that I see a lot of times with couples, where you'll have people that are like, "There's an issue right now. I'm not going to bring it up." But a month later, when we get into an argument, I'm going to bring it. And you guys never do that.
No, you can't brush it under the rug.
Okay.
I mean, if anything, she must be like, Dan, can we stop talking about this? Like,
right.
It's done.
Yeah.
But you don't keep score, and that's what's important.
No.
Right? So that's kind of one of the tenets of passive aggressive communication.
For sure.
When you see that, and I feel like that's a disease, because for instance, if I had something bad to say about Claudia, and I say, hey Dan, blah 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 blah, this is about Claudia, but don't tell Claudia. Now what have I done? I've taken my passive aggressive behavior and I've now spread it to you like a disease.
Right.
And now you're like, oh, Michael said this about you, but don't tell Michael I said it. Now look what you've done to Claudia. Now Claudia's passive. Now we're all talking shit about each other behind our back, and that's one of the problems that I've had. We're going to talk about living in Las Vegas, but one of the things living here is I feel like I'm in high school again frequently, and that's one of the issues that I see is where a lot of people, like, instead of bringing up a problem, they'll just like sit there and talk about people behind their back for a long period of time.
Which
don't you
solve
think
anything.
that's anywhere though? I mean, we just came from a small town, literally a year ago today. I feel like it was all worse in a small town.
It's interesting you say that, because I do think it was worse because you have a small town mentality.
Yeah.
At least in a city like Las Vegas and New York and Miami and LA.
Nobody cares
Like,
here.
whatever
you're doing your own
you're going to
thing.
judge me and what I'm doing, you're doing worse.
Right.
And it's like nobody really cares. This one's got a mistress. This one's doing illegal things. Nobody really gives a shit.
I think it's worse. Yeah, in a smaller town. Honestly.
Interesting. Yeah. I can definitely see that. Yeah. All right. FHM, Candy Mag. So I don't know what Candy Mag is. I kind of do, but I see things like Candyland, and then like there's different.
Two different things. Yeah. Candy was at one point like one of the world's most downloaded men's magazines. So it was cool.
Okay.
They're online.
App.
It's an app.
They're
Yeah.
an app. Yeah.
Yeah.
Playboy and Rockstar Energy. So a lot of do you reach out to them? Do they reach out to you? How do some of these affiliations happen?
So Playboy is actually interesting. Playboy was my first job. So I moved to LA when I was 18, and I did a casting call to basically be one of the girls that swam in the grotto. Okay. And just got paid, just to make the grotto look like the grotto. I was 18.
Wait, so during a party or during some kind of activation?
I don't even, it was just like a Craigslist thing, honestly.
Okay.
I think back in the day. And Barry.
Yeah.
Barry Bly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he got me into the party.
I talked to Barry. I talked to Barry every single day.
I love
Shout out
Barry.
to Barry. I talked to Barry for hours every day.
I love that guy. Yeah. So he actually got me like working into the parties and stuff. And then I started working like Midsummer's Night Dream, and getting body painted and all that fun stuff. I was at Hef's wedding. I was body painted for that. That was really cool.
To Crystal.
To Crystal.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So it was
Barry did not get me into the grotto.
No.
Didn't swim around.
So there's a couple stories here. So I'm friends with Crystal because I used to host a bikini competition over at Wet Republic, and she was the DJ and I was the MC. And so she invited me to Midsummer Night's Dream, and I always remember trying to not act nervous. Just like walking around, seeing super famous people, and I knew Blazarian, so I came up and shook his hand, but I'm still nervous. I'm like looking around, and then like Crystal Hafner walks up to me and goes, "Oh, you look great," and I'm like, "Dude, this is like beyond." Even to this day, I still couldn't believe. And then I'd see my friends up there body painted, and I was like, "Oh my god, like this is just so crazy." The grotto, however, is really interesting that you mentioned that because you hear stories and you kind of imagine the level of hedonism that would be in that house, right? And so one time I saw these people having sex in the grotto. There's like two couples having sex in the grotto. This is probably 2015 when I'm there. And I remember a security guard walking up to him and being like, "Oh, here we go." I was like excited. The security guard was going to get these motherfuckers. And the security guard goes, "Hey guys, you guys go in just a little bit further. That's okay." And I was like, "Wait, what?" Wait, what?
You're going to kick him out?
He didn't say nothing. I remember going into the game room with the pinball machines and just watching this girl pull her boyfriend in there to have sex.
And there's like the couple little rooms in the game room with the beds.
Dude, a lot of people don't even know those rooms are there.
Yeah.
I was talking to my friend. She's like, she had no idea that those rooms were even in there.
What's crazy to think to me now is like we were a part of an era, right?
Yes.
Like, it's so crazy. Like, sometimes I'll tell people, like, I was at the Playboy Mansion. They're like, what?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like this was like in the 60s or something. Like, we were part of something.
I feel like the period from 05 to now, I feel like that period is like something we're going to document in some place later on. And I think Playboy was a part of it. I think Maxim was a part of it. Those parties, I think Dan Bilzerian is a part of it. I think this whole thing, I think Instagram is a part of it.
Yep.
I think there was this, because the change happened so fast.
Yep.
Right. The change, it was so quick to where we had cell phones that had 3G, 4G, 5G, and we were able to document so much of it. And you watch, like, HD TV didn't even come until 2004. And then bottle service was a part of it, and EDM, and everything just changed so fast. And we're spending so much money on trying to show how wealthy we were, and this whole social media era just came. And I'm just wondering, like, I can't wait to see a documentary about that whole period. That, in fact, this podcast, part of what we talk about is kind of documenting all of those old stories.
It's so cool. It's so cool to say that I was a part of it. Like,
For sure.
I'm very grateful for that period.
Yep. Yeah, definitely great.
Cool.
Definitely great. Okay. And then so the YouTube series that you guys have. What do you shoot with, by the way? Is that A7R? What is that?
6100.
Oh, the 6100.
Okay. It's
Okay.
a wide angle lens.
This is a 1635. Which lens is that?
This is 1630. No, I don't even know.
He just works here.
Okay.
I think it is. Yeah.
Okay,
It is
very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I watched it. It looks really cool. At first, I was like, "Is this an iPhone sideways?" And then I realized, no, this is not.
Yeah.
It's really cool. You guys use the Rode
We do
shotgun,
it right.
Yeah, and then you blog. You guys blog everything. And I was looking at your episodes. The halls. What are they called? The
Try-on halls.
The
try-on halls.
yeah.
Explain that. I'd never heard of a try-on hall before until I saw that on
So
your
you know
YouTube.
what's super interesting? So I wanted to start a YouTube channel because I wanted a different avenue of kind of showing myself. And Instagram is so scripted and everything's edited, and you're face apping and you're face tuning, and it's so fake. Like, I wanted to show myself from a different angle because I feel like I'm getting older. Like, I want to start expanding onto other things. So I'm like, okay, I want to start like vlogging and blogging and doing all this kind of stuff, but I have to recognize that my following is 96% male, right?
Okay.
Like, at least on Instagram. So I could only imagine it's probably even a higher percentage than that. So what do guys want to see? They don't want to see me putting on my makeup. They don't want to see makeup tutorials. So I'm trying to cater to getting that demographic to come to my YouTube.
So keep that thought. Do you ever go through analytics for those halls and actually see if there are
I do.
more,
I run the
women?
channel.
Okay, so now are there more women that look at the Fashion Nova halls? Men for the Fashion Nova halls.
Yes.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the halls, and I mean, interrupt, like, pull the channel. I mean,
I saw that.
we have 500,000 views, 250 on one.
I saw 'em,
and
yeah.
stuff that's a month old.
But I told him at the very beginning, I don't want this to be a try-on haul channel.
Right.
I don't want that. So we're doing the try-on hauls, but I'm also doing the vlogging stuff so that the hauls pull the channel, but I really want to focus on the vlog. So I'm kind of trying to like get people in through the try-on hauls, but they'll stay for the
But what I do
vlogs.
think is cool, and you'll agree, like, try-on hauls, while you could argue is kind of sexual, it's also cool, like, from a fashion standpoint. Like, she got a deal with Fashion Nova because of her try-on hauls.
Yeah.
So, like, for her, I mean, now she's getting established with these fashion companies, and she's more of a fashion blogger, where you would not really have gotten that based, I think, just on your Instagram.
No, for sure.
So the try-on hauls, while have great views and a great audience, but it's establishing you as something else.
And that's what I wanted, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. I saw that and I thought it was really interesting. Also, the way you document a lot of stuff that you guys are doing, going to Sapphire Pool. Which shout out to Sapphire. Sapphire,
Love
like
Sapphire.
Sapphire, like supplements 35% of this podcast
I
because
love it.
whenever the girls. So what I'll do is I'll just be straight up. So I'll talk to George Wilson. And I'll be like, George, I have this incredible. Kindly, I kept telling George, like one of my best friends, Kindly, you gotta hire her, and they couldn't make it work because Kindly was always working at Tootsie's in Nashville. Well, eventually they worked it out because Kindly got into OF and she didn't need to work at Tootsie's anymore, and then they signed her to come down. Well, it was her, and then Amanda Paris is there today, right? And then you, and then Talia, and a bunch of it. And it was like when the girls would fly into town, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna get them on the podcast the week that they're flying into town. So that Sapphire Pool is amazing. I saw you did your first set there at Sapphire Pool.
They were my first DJ gig.
And you did an appearance with Colleen.
Colleen, yeah.
One of our good friends, Colleen.
Yeah. What was that like? Can you guys talk about that?
With Colleen?
Yeah. Well, not with Colleen, but like in general. Okay, we're smiling here. I don't understand. I'm trying to get.
We just have so much fun. You know,
Okay.
like, stories with
I
Colleen.
love her.
Like we could talk about Colleen. We adore Colleen.
Yeah, she's great.
She's hilarious.
So when you say Colleen, it's just like we just like three.
I love her
goofballs.
because every time you say Colleen, like she's always laughing about something.
She is.
I just adore the girl so much. Hi, Colleen. No, I love her. She's like my little twin.
That was the first time I'd ever met her, so that was pretty cool.
She's super sweet.
Oh yeah, she's a great girl. She's one of those girls that like. She's more when you even meet her.
Yeah.
Like, you know, sometimes you see someone on social media and you meet him and you're like, oh, that's a disappointment. Not her. Like, there's so much more to her.
Yeah.
Outside of
I
that.
love her. I just adore the girl,
couldn't be nicer. She was absolutely fantastic. You did a shoot with somebody else. Since we're talking about Colleen, let's go ahead and talk about another person who I'm BFFs with, which is Holly Saunders.
We love Holly.
The thing about Holly is this: I used to work for a sports radio station a long time ago, and I've always been in some kind of announcing or interviewing or whatever. And most of the time, a lot of times, they'll put sometimes people on the red carpet who are either celebrities or models, and I just don't think they're very good.
Yeah.
And it's just. Again, sounding like an elitist. I do this for a living, so for me, whenever I hear them, and I just sometimes they'll put a Maxim model on the Maxim cover, and they just don't know what questions to ask or whatever. With Holly, I don't feel like that at all. Holly is as good at this as I am.
Amazing.
She's so talented, dude. When I see her when I saw all the videos of her doing sideline stuff for Fox Sports Southwest or whoever, I was like actually like jealous. I was, man, this girl is so talented. And she used to tell me, she's like, Michael, you don't want to do sideline reporting. I'm like, girl, get the fuck out of here. Are you kidding me? Like I would do that in a heartbeat. But she, besides the fact that she is fantastically beautiful and honest. I mean, she's very open about the plastic surgery stuff. She came out and she did a video. And she talked about it. And I was saying before, like Holly Saunders is the greatest example of every single plastic surgery going 100% right. She's amazing. She is phenomenal. And the thing about it, and then from her being so smart, and every time we talk on the phone, it's 3 hours. Mm-hmm. Every time, because she's so smart and I have so many things to like talk to her about. Can you guys talk about Holly Saunders?
I think I just made like a little Insta story thing about her. She's a powerhouse. Like when I think of like a woman that just has it all together, that to me is Holly.
Yeah. She's
beautiful. She's worldly. She's well-spoken. Like everything, like I want to emulate Holly. Like I love Holly. And I think I reached out to her randomly, I don't know, maybe a year ago, just to do a shoot, just to collab. And because I saw she was out in Vegas or something, I'm like, hey, if you're if you're back here, like I'd like to shoot with you. Like let's get some OnlyFans stuff. Let's do some YouTube stuff. And she's like, I'd love to. And I'm like, really? I was like fangirling a little bit.
And she's not on OF. She actually has her own website.
She has her own stuff. Yeah, I didn't know that at the time. So we did this collab, and like even for my OnlyFans guys, they're like, you shot with Holly Saunders? I'm like, yeah, she's awesome. Like I adore her.
She has this announcer voice. When you hear it, and it just blows me away.
I know.
Dude, when I'm talking to her on the phone and I'm just like, man, this is like, I'm actually jealous that like she's so freaking talented.
You don't see that voice coming out of that woman. I don't. Because she looks like she could be a ditz, right? Like me, probably.
I've always referenced like three, I call them Instagram girls, who are like business wise or beyond set. I mean, I'm talking about their investments, their 401ks. Claudia, Tucci Cash, and Holly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Those, like, if you want to emulate a businesswoman who's got it figured out, there you go.
I've told my friends I think Tucci is going to be mayor someday.
She should be.
She should be.
Tucci for president.
You got my vote.
Tucci will be mayor of Las Vegas. Remember, ready? Write this down. Italia will be mayor of Las Vegas someday. Watch.
Yep.
But I think a lot of these girls, they look at them and they just think they're beauty, no brains, right?
Yeah.
And you have three girls that I know have more business sense and more shit figured out than most people who have a business degree.
Yeah.
She
definitely does. Yeah, he definitely does.
Yeah.
Well, I will tell you guys, Kylie's like that too. Kylie, I think
I don't know. We don't know her super well.
She has like 7 homes.
I would think so.
She's really smart.
I mean, she looked like she's got it pretty figured out too.
She definitely does.
Yeah.
There was one. I won't say the name of it, but there was a company that does OnlyFans management. It's a big one. And they told me one time, because one of their account managers, one of my really close friends, and she told me, she's like, we don't want Kindly. I was like, why not? She's like, because Kindly does this better than us. And she goes, Kindly will have our girls questioning themselves, like, how is she able to churn out so much money? It's just because Kindly, treats it like a job. So yeah, I thought that was a really interesting thing. So the YouTube series, you guys do the hauls, and then what's the other stuff? Do you guys do blogs?
We do like a travel
vlog, day in the life. We just film everything, and then I do the editing. I run the channel, so whatever kind of sticks we put together. I mean, people love behind the scenes of photo shoots, behind the scenes of just us doing cool stuff.
How much are you cutting out? Because I see they're usually around 10, 12, 4 to like 12 minutes. Are you?
Well, I do that also for people's attention span.
Of course.
Right? Like, like the average YouTube video really shouldn't be over 12 minutes. I mean, that's a proven statistic. Like when we went to Greece a couple weeks ago, we ended up doing 6 episodes because it would have been an hour and a half YouTube video, which nobody's going to watch. So we cut it down. And then just from a monetization standpoint, 8 minutes is about where you want to be.
Yeah.
So we try to stay in that 8 to 12.
So you guys are monetizing on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, we were monetized after 10 weeks.
Oh, that's incredible. Okay. Very cool. What do you use, Premiere to edit? What do you use?
I actually use iMovie.
iMovie. Very nice.
I was taught in iMovie, and I know Adobe, but I don't think it's that much better. I mean, color correction, maybe, things like that. But you can do so much in iMovie now.
Yeah.
So we actually use iMovie.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
I don't do anything. I'm just the face.
Well, originally I didn't edit. I actually didn't even know how to edit, and we hired some editors. And it just didn't go well.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's hard.
And some of these guys, it's like, bro, you're charging $500 a video. Like, it's just not worth it. And we're barely making that on a video.
Yeah.
So I just said, you know what? I'm going to sit down and I'm going to figure out how to start editing. And I did.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a similar thing. I started a YouTube series just so I could learn how to edit. And it helped so much because what I will do is I'll give the 80% solution to the editor and I'll give them the project file and then they just finish up with it, whatever. Clean up whatever it is. I make it really easy on them. But yeah, it's a really great skill set. I will say this, though. There is one thing where I give an exception. If you have, if you go over an hour and a half on YouTube and it's something that YouTube likes, like it's a series, they promote the shit out of it. Like I can't, like I got 10,000 views on a video I did the other day. It was 90 minutes long. It's this weird thing where they're promoting shorts and then they're also promoting 10-minute videos and they're also promoting stuff that's like an hour and 15 minutes, like 2 hours long. It is pretty.
I mean, I guess we'd have to have a real great day to put an hour and a half.
Which we can. All the days are great.
Yeah.
But we're still learning. I mean, I think we're YouTubers now, but it's like we're always evolving.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's great feedback.
Yeah.
That's something cool to know.
Yeah, I didn't know if this would work, and then I saw how. I mean, obviously it worked for Joe Rogan because he was putting 3 hours up. Right, he'd do 3 hours, and then also Web Circle was another one where I saw they were doing 4 hours and got people. They were getting 4, 5, 6 million views, and I was like, okay, at some point, and some of these things they do promote, but it just kind of depends. Losing and getting your Instagram back. This seems to be a common theme we talk about on the show often.
What a topic, huh?
So real quick, there's a lot of different ways. I lost mine recently because they said I was impersonating someone. So what was yours?
Sexual exploitation.
Okay, so that usually what did they accuse you of specifically? Do you know?
Prostitution or something.
Okay.
Like that.
So what'll happen? I think sometimes people will come out and mass report you. Sometimes you said that you found someone who was responsible.
We think we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually a really crazy story. So I lost my page and somebody actually tagged me in something where this guy was just on a rampage. Of getting girls' pages shut down.
Was this Reddit or Twitter?
Twitter.
Twitter.
And basically he was just like some religious freak and basically said that he was exposed to porn at a very early age. And it basically, turned his world upside down. So now he's like on this kick of just deleting women that are in the porn industry or close to it because children shouldn't be exploited. They shouldn't be exposed to it, all this stuff, blah, blah, blah. So he just kept deleting or reporting my page until it got deleted. And then he put up on his Twitter, Claudia Fijal's page was successfully taken down with X amount of followers, blah, blah, blah. So we think it's him. I mean, I would think so if you're boasting about it.
So I think what can happen is they can mass report you. Excuse me. They can mass report you, and then they'll say sexual exploitation or solicitation,
right.
And their algorithm can't figure out whether or not you're actually soliciting people.
Right.
But they'll take all these reports and then they'll just take them. This is what I was talking about before. In the U.S. Constitution, I have the right to face my accuser, and I have the right to a presumption of innocence until proven guilty. And in Instagram, it is the complete opposite.
Exactly.
The accuser is always believed, and I am guilty until I prove myself innocent. And in a lot of cases, I'm not allowed to prove myself innocent because I don't have access to the DMs that you just took away when you suspended my account. So it's one of these crazy situations where I've seen people suspended for animal cruelty on an account that has no animals. I've seen people suspended for hate speech on an account where it's just nothing but bikini photos. So yeah, it is one of these crazy situations. How did you end up getting it back? Do you know, or did it just show up? day?
I tried. I went through so many different people. Like, every guy could.
Everyone has a guy.
Everybody
right?
has got a guy.
This guy's going to pull it off.
There's more people that I know that know a guy at Facebook than there are employees at Facebook.
Yeah. No, so finally I did have somebody that pulled through. He was able to send out like a bunch of like, what are they called? Like proxies or
Yeah, I mean, I'm
something.
sure they have some sort of like blitz server system that just submits requests until it gets done to at least the right person on the other end.
Yeah.
And then they say, well, clearly this page is fine. And it came back. It took about 6 months, though.
6 months, yeah.
Oh, that's right. 6 months.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I've seen 18 months before.
Yeah.
That is great. Mine was 12 days, and I was really worried. I just kind of written it off. I thought that I wasn't going to
I thought it was gone, yeah.
I know who did mine. I know who mass reported
You
mine.
said
But
that,
yeah,
yeah, it's crazy.
it is one of these really crazy situations where it's like it's becoming so much easier to report people. And here's the thing. There is no way you can tell me that reporting, like regular reporting, is done above board. Like, I'm telling you, 80 to 90% of reporting is I just don't like you. Fuck
Exactly.
you. I'm reporting you. Yeah. How can you believe anything else? Do you really think that these people are going through and it's like, well, let me see what part of the terms of service they broke today. Oh, this.
Right, no.
Okay, let me report them for this violation of terms. The people who don't know terms of service are reporting you for violating terms of service and they don't know it. And if I had a person from Instagram here, they don't know terms of service.
Yeah.
It is so ridiculous and you just believe them. And it's just one of these really crazy situations where like, they believe the accuser. I think you should always respect the accuser, but you need to have people need to be allowed their day in court.
Sure.
You understand? And so I just find that to be so aggravating because it's not. I had a girl hit me up the other day. She's like, "Oh, you're one of us now. You lost your account. You've got some street cred. You got some street cred. You lost your fucking account now because your thing. But you did get it back.
I did.
And you said somebody helped you. Now here's the thing that bothers me. No one should be able to just take your account back, and no one should be able to get it back for you. Think about this, right? If we had someone from Instagram here and I said, "Can you buy a blue check mark?" They're going to be like, "No, you can't buy a blue check mark." But we all know you can. We all know you can.
We can all have it next week for 20 grand.
For sure. We all know. So here's the problem. The very fact that you can have mine like taken away maliciously and now I can pay someone to get it back,
right?
That makes the problem even more like the level of corruption. There's nothing real. Like I'm to the point now whenever I see a dude with 100,000 followers and a blue check mark and he's not like in a movie or something, I automatically think he just bought the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's almost worse to have a check mark.
Dude, that is exactly what I said. Like for me, I'm not anybody special. For me to have 100,000 followers and a blue check mark, unless I did something really like for instance, we have, I get 1 million subscribers on YouTube. If something like that happened, otherwise for me to get a blue check mark and 100,000 followers, I just think something's wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyway.
But you know what that taught me? The whole Instagram thing is how much like merit and respect we put on people's Instagram accounts. Like how differently I was treated with having my backup account, which only had like 10,000 followers at the time, versus how people treated me when they got a message from me at the 650,000 account.
Go into that. Yes.
It's insane. Like it is insane. Like, so there was this girl at the time, I won't say who it is. She lost her page before me, I think maybe like a month or something. She got hers back. So I messaged her from my backup account and I said, "Hey, can you help me? Like, just help me out. Like who helped you? Any insight?" No response, absolutely nothing. Soon as I get my page back and I message her about something else, she responds.
Yeah.
I'm like, so I'm a different person.
A different human, yeah.
Because of the number of followers I have.
Incredible.
Like it blows my mind that this is how we judge people these days.
You know what's interesting? So I started doing during coronavirus, during the shutdown, I started doing those photo shoots. I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but I would do photo shoots at like Michael Evers' house. I probably did like a dozen of them. And part of the reason why I did them was because there's a bunch of girls who had just turned, 22, 23, and they weren't on IG in 2014. They weren't there during the growth curve. And no matter how pretty they weren't going to break 100K, no matter what.
Right.
I'd have photographers come in and they'd always say the same thing. Where's so-and-so? Where's so-and-so? And some girl with 3-4 million followers. And I was like, she's coming, but just wait, because I'm going to introduce you to 4 or 5 girls. Maybe they're a cocktail server at Marquee, or they work at Wet Republic, and they never got into Instagram. And then the guys, the photographers' jaws would just drop, and then they'd meet, like, I don't know if you guys know who Steffi Joseph is, who works over at Marquee. She's so freaking pretty and has like 4,000 followers. Or Melanie Campoy. She's so pretty, and she just isn't. Or Tori Lupo. These girls are so stunning, and they're just, because they were cocktail servers, they just never really dug into modeling or Facebook. And then when I introduced them to photographers, the photographers are just dumbfounded, just speechless at how pretty these girls are.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the things that I wanted to do. It was like one of these situations where the definition of who you are came because of when, it's not just how well you did on IG, but when you started your IG, because then you got in during the growth curve. I don't think that we're going to get another guy like what Dan with, his 33 million followers. I don't think we're Bilzerian. I don't think we're going to have that again because I don't think anybody's going to be able to organically grow. But man, I'm telling you, man, you buy ads on there or you do a promoted post, all of a sudden you get all these likes from people that you've never even seen before. And it is just a really interesting situation because we all remember what it was like when you could grow organically and how that is completely gone now.
Mm-hmm. It's night and day different.
But just the level of respect just drives me nuts. Like I don't care if you have 200 followers or if you have 7 billion followers. I don't care. Like, treat people with the same respect.
Exactly.
And that was like the biggest lesson for me. Like, people were like, oh, I bet you're devastated. I'm like, you know what? No, I'm irritated that this is what the world's coming to, that you're treating me differently because of a stupid number. Like, it makes no sense to me. And it really pisses me off.
It is crazy. When I started my second account, my backup account, I don't know if this happened to you, it was growing so fast that IG made me change my password because they said, your account's growing too fast. You're clearly logged into some third-party app. I'm like, no, IG, you took my fucking account away and you for no reason. This is your fault. And it's like, not only did you take my account away for nothing, now you're accusing me of other shit that I didn't do. Then they made it to where I couldn't follow people. I couldn't fucking message people anymore. And I'm just like, and then like every day there were like 1,000 people, maybe not 1,000, but maybe 1,000 people a week that were jumping onto my new account. And I just remember thinking like, this is horrible. Like I can imagine like somebody getting their shit taken away. And like, not only can you can't even grow a second account back. Like that's how confiscatory they are. That's how draconian they are to where they take that whole thing away. So the whole thing is crazy because what I think would change this whole situation very quickly, and I talked about this with Coffee and Cleavage, is that for some reason, when we deal with something that's big enough like a public utility like the electric company or a public utility like, like the phone company, when we deal with something like that, we have an understanding as Americans and the federal government has an understanding that this is so big and means so much to so many people that it's now treated like a public utility. And so you're protected under the First Amendment and there's certain rights that you have when it comes to your electricity account or your telephone, right? Ma Bell, like I can't tap your phone without getting a warrant from because it's protected under the U.S. Constitution. But for some reason, we don't have this whole thing to happen with Facebook and Instagram because Facebook and Instagram are private companies. Right. But at some point, I do think they become a public utility. And that point happens when you start swaying elections. That point happens when you take normal people and start making them believe that the earth is flat. When that happens, to me, you are now a public utility. Mm-hmm. To me, you have become, it's like you're too big for your own good. And at some point, there needs to be some way to say, hey, listen, if you want to suspend people because they've broken your terms of service, that's fine for you to do that. Right. But they still get the right to face their accuser, their right to a speedy trial, and they're presumed innocent until proven guilty. You can't take their account away. And if they did that, just like if they did that same thing, I think that would be a lot more fair, and you'd see a lot of this stuff going away.
Yeah, I agree.
I agree with that.
Yeah. Well, we need some congressmen and senators to step up.
Tucci, run for mayor, then we'll get you to governor. And so
Tucci could probably do it.
Well, yeah,
I bet you if Tucci went to Instagram headquarters in Northern California, they'd be afraid. They'd open the door for her.
Oh, hell yeah.
Lay out the carpet for it.
Get
yes,
her
Miss
lunch.
Cash. How you get her lunch? Be like, yes, ma'am. How can I help you?
Maybe that's what we need.
For sure. You like reading about U.S. presidents?
I do, yeah.
Go into that.
This fascination started when I was very young. I started just randomly reading on just U.S. presidents. I don't know why. I have no idea why. And then I started like memorizing like stupid little things about them. I memorized them in chronological order. And it was just so fascinating. I think maybe because I'm an immigrant, I think like everything that we do in this country is fascinating.
It is fascinating.
Yeah. I haven't really read up a lot.
Recently, and to follow up what's cool in current events, like there's a lot of people who are like anti-America this, like with COVID and all that, blah, blah, blah. When you hear an immigrant talk about the United States, you realize how blessed we are.
Yes, of course.
Because they've killed to be here. Uh-huh. Like they're so proud of the United States. And there's so many people, well, you put a mask on my face and I want to leave this country. Well, then leave. Yeah. Because there's so many people that love this stuff. And she can recite in order by name every U.S.
You can get all 45?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
No, she really can do it.
No, for
I mean, if you want her to do it.
You want to try right now?
I'm not going to do it.
Okay. All right. So a couple things. One of some of my most fascinating observations about the president or the vice president was Aaron Burr killing Alexander Hamilton, and I believe Poughkeepsie is where he shot him, and he was the sitting vice president of the United States.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I know of the story. I don't know the whole story.
Yeah, a lot of people were like, well, who killed Alexander Hamilton? It was the sitting vice president. It wasn't some dude who used to be the vice president.
Yeah.
He left, then goes back to the White House to sit in front of the Senate, and there was a federal murder warrant for him after he fucking killed Alexander Hamilton. Nobody talks about this story, which I think is absolutely crazy.
I know this story.
Yes, that part is crazy, and then just all the things behind the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln and how he ends up dying in the Ford Theater from John Wilkes Booth. And I actually have a fascination. Did you know that Gerald Ford was there was an assassination attempt on his life twice in 11 days?
I did know that.
I did know that.
Yes, one in Sacramento, California, and then that was from I'm going to say her name wrong, but she was one of the members of the Manson family. And then 11 days later, I believe at Berkeley or somewhere in San Francisco, they tried to kill him twice.
That's crazy.
That is pretty crazy. Or you have a favorite president?
Kennedy, I think.
Kennedy?
Okay.
Yeah,
she
JFK.
loves
A lot of crazy stuff there.
Oh yeah, with the whole like Marilyn. I was going to say Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Monroe. That's a different story.
So have you guys ever read Marilyn Monroe's biography?
No.
Fantastic. So a couple of things. Number one, the whole idea where she was sleeping with President Kennedy is not conjecture. There's actual Secret Service accounts where they actually log her in as a guest, and they go into an apartment together. And Jacqueline Onassis was fully aware of the fact that JFK was sleeping with Marilyn Monroe. The reason why she stopped sleeping with Marilyn Monroe is because Jackie O thought that she had a drug problem and asked him to stop sleeping with her. And his quote was, "This woman lets me get away with a whole lot. I'm going to do whatever she says." That's what it's like. I'm very lucky to be with Jackie O, so I'm just going to do whatever she says. So I thought that was really interesting.
That's cool.
And then the other part is like a month later, she started sleeping with Bobby.
Yeah.
I don't know if you knew about this.
Yep.
But another crazy thing about Marilyn Monroe, a lot of people don't realize this. So she's married to Joe DiMaggio. And he gets physically violent with her. She leaves Joe DiMaggio, starts dating Frank Sinatra. She leaves.
I don't know if I knew that.
She leaves Frank Sinatra. She starts dating another guy. Frank Sinatra literally hires a private investigator to follow her to report back to Joe DiMaggio. Yeah, you should read that. There's so much. Marilyn Monroe's story is too crazy to be believed. There's so
She's
much.
so fascinating.
There's so much fascinating. I know so many people who are fascinated with her, but have never actually read about her.
Yeah.
How she basically became famous in one weekend after doing one photo shoot. It was really, really crazy.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that stuff was really interesting.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's cool.
the Marilyn Monroe stuff is not even conjecture anymore. Like it's very open about the fact that she was having an affair with the president at the time.
Oh yeah, and like you see all these crazy photos, and it's crazy to think that like there was such a big scandal back then. And then you had like Monica Lewinsky happen, and people were so shocked. But I think the Marilyn Monroe thing is even bigger than that.
Doesn't this go back to like our first topic of how like conventional marriage?
Yeah.
What is
Even the
conventional
president
marriage? Like, even
can't
the
get it.
president can't have marriage figured out.
Yeah.
You know,
Are you saying we have marriage figured out?
I don't know anyone doing it better.
There we go. So let's get to that. Like, so how you live here, okay? I've tried this a couple times. This whole dating somebody who lives in 702. It's fucking hard, guys. I don't know if you're aware of this.
City.
It is really, really difficult for a few reasons. Number one, bigger, better deal. There's always a bigger, better deal, right? I mean, and it does weigh on you. Like there's some psychological effects that talk about willpower, and like the way willpower works is when I first wake up in the morning, I have my coffee, I can make my best decisions. I know I have the best willpower. This is the time for me to work out. This is the time for me to get those books in, go to work, all this kind of stuff. And at the end of the day, a hard day at work, what do? We go grab a beer out of the fridge, and we drink a beer, and we just sit there and we watch bullshit television because we have no more willpower. Our willpower is worn out. So you take a girl, and I've seen this several times where a girl will come move here, she'll get a job making $200K a year working at Hakkasan, Omnia, or XS or something like that. And while she's working there every day, it's a rich guy hitting on her, good looking guy hitting on her, famous guy hitting on her, DJ hitting on her, movie star hitting on her, fucking athlete hitting on her every day. And then she comes back home, and every day she sees her man, and it's just like, oh man, like it's just this little bit just chips away at the willpower. And the next thing you know, you take really, really good, wholesome, moral people, and they're just like, I don't want to be in this marriage anymore. I don't want to be in this relationship anymore. And I've just seen this city eat up relationships like no other city I've ever seen in my life, except for Los Angeles. Los Angeles is the worst place I've ever. Los Angeles is the worst place I've ever seen in my life. Like that, because there's other factors behind that. Besides, like for instance, if we live in different cities, I'll never see you again.
Right.
Because the traffic there is miserable. But could you guys speak to what is it that you're doing that all these other people are missing?
Number one, I think communicate.
Communication.
We talk about everything till we're blue in the face, and like he said earlier, like. He just wants to talk so much about certain topics. Sometimes I'm like, Dan, I get it. Like you've said the same thing 35 times already. Like, thank you. Like, can we please next topic? Like
36 times.
36 times. Exactly. We talk till we're blue in the face. That's the biggest one.
Well, and I
honestly.
think anytime you're in an entertainment city, like there's going to be vices, right? And if you have a backbone, you can't let those things, infiltrate everything you're doing in your life, that's good and right. I mean, but we also came here married, and we came here
that helps.
with a foundation, to move to Las Vegas to find your forever partner. Right. Like, I mean,
wait, you mean the thing I'm doing? Is that what you're talking about? Okay.
I mean, you're definitely not going to find him in L.A. And I think L.A. is far worse. I mean, L.A. is the sugar baby capital of the world. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
So it's like, but where do you go? I mean, is it a major city thing? Is it an entertainment city thing? But I mean, for us, our foundation was just so poured.
Yeah, well, the thing you guys also mentioned the honesty, but I think the main thing is that fact that you guys want to do stuff together all the time.
Oh, and I've said that. Right, that's a great point, because I've said that. Like, if your boys want to go, if your boyfriend or husband needs to go out with his boys all the time without you, he's doing something he doesn't want you to know about.
Yeah,
and you can live turned around, not dealing with it, but that's what's happening, and vice versa for the girls. So I've always said I don't understand these couples that live these independent lives.
I can hear guys on the YouTube right now like, why is Dan snitching on me? Why is Dan telling my business?
Fuck this guy.
Fuck this guy.
But it's the girls too.
He's telling the stories.
It's the girls too. Like, we get girls' night. You're going out for something you don't want your man to know you're doing.
Yeah.
But why do girls go out? Because we want to look hot. Mm-hmm. We want to get hit on because we want to be validated, right?
Yeah.
That's why we do it. Let's go do that together. Like, let's go laugh at the fact that I'm getting hit on. Let's go hit on a chick together. Like, it's fun.
It's a lot more fun with your wife. I got news for guys. Like, the strip club is a lot more fun with your wife.
Like last night.
You're going to pull a better stripper with her than anyone. She's your best wingman right there.
Yeah.
Wingman and pulling a stripper. Okay.
Yeah, she's my best
nice.
wingman.
That's beautiful. That's
last night I was like, let's go get you a lap dance. He's like, that's a great idea.
Okay.
We did. We got home at 4:15 this
morning. And then, sorry, mom and dad again, you have great sex. Like, you have those experiences together. It makes your marriage better. And I don't know why more couples don't get this.
Your mom and dad just wrote me. They had no idea you guys were having sex. They're shocked right now.
My dad would actually.
Her dad actually, that was the running joke. We slept in separate bedrooms until we were married.
And we still apparently do.
But I don't know why more couples don't get that. I mean, I don't think it's rocket science.
I know why. So if you guys want actual, you came to the
you're smart, dude. Why?
So the reason why is I would recommend a book for both of you, or maybe I shouldn't recommend it. It's called The Evolution of Desire by David Buss, and he will go over this thing called mate guarding. And this is the reason why men will physically keep their wives or the person they're trying to have children with away from other men, physically keep them away from other men. That's what a harem is, actually. And then this is the reason why women will call other women sluts or try to shame them in some other kind of way. I found that slut shaming mostly happens from women, not from men.
Of course.
Agreed. Yeah.
So these are mate guarding techniques, right? Well, so like, and I've had this before where I'm dating a girl and she doesn't want me to talk to another girl. So there's like these little passive aggressive, just these little underlying comments to make me think less of her. It's like, oh, so-and-so looks like a man, or so-and-so is like way too muscular. Or so I think that girl fucked all these different guys. And I'm like, and I know the fact that some of the things she's saying aren't true. And I'm like, oh, this is mate guarding. This is her kind of being like a little bit insecure about it. So that's where the main thing happens. For you, here's the situation. You like looking at girls. A lot of women would not want to go with their man to see women that they may perceive to be more attractive than themselves, and that's the reason why I think a lot of would not go to a strip club together. That's part of the reason.
But isn't that an insecurity, ultimately?
Well, it is an insecurity, but Dan, I'm going to just question the two of you. Do you think most people are more or less insecure than the two of you? Just be honest.
110%.
Yeah. So the situation is you have to understand the majority. Here, I'll give you a statistic right now. 26% of men have had 0 sexual partners in the last year, and something like 30% of men, about 28% of men have had 0 sexual partners from the time they turn 18 to the time they turn 30. This is crazy when you think about it.
Wow.
But where does it come from? It comes from the idea that, well, there's a bunch of guys up at the top that are at the Maxim parties or the Playboy Mansion or the Ignite parties, and they're having sex with 100 women a year. Do you understand? And so since they're having sex with 100 women a year, then we're talking about these guys at the bottom that are having 0 sexual partners.
The 90-10 rule.
Exactly. Or 80-10 or 80-20 rule. Exactly. So what happens is you end up in the situation where, and I tell this to women, they're like, 26% of men, there's no fucking way. I can snap my fingers and get sex anytime I want. Yes, that's right, because you're female. And then I was like, let's go to Walmart and let's walk around the Walmart. But stop. But here's what happens is a lot of times attractive women, they won't even notice that the unattractive men are even there, that they exist. And I'm like, count every man here. Even the guy stocking that shelf right there. that cashier right there who's in his 60s and he's overweight. Every single one of them. Who's sleeping with these guys? You tell me who's sleeping. And then they come to the realization, oh, you're right. Because what they think of as men sleeping with women, they think of these really good-looking male strippers and VIP hosts that are sleeping with 100 women. And they're like, oh, no, men are getting all the sex. No, that's not the case. A small number of men are having sex with 80 to 90% of the women. Right. Every study is showing this. This is essentially what's going on. And then when you see the peak, like you hear the stories about rock stars, like you hear biographies about rock stars, or you hear stories about Justin Timberlake or Justin Bieber, or you hear, Dan Bilzerian's book, which just recently came out, which is the exploits are just beyond description. Then you come to this realization, yes, it is this one guy who's with 20, 30, 40, 50 women, and then there's several guys that are with no one. Yeah. That insecurity is the majority of what men feel like, I think, Dan. But you and I, you're married, and obviously I live in a city where there's a ton of beautiful women. I feel the same way you do. I would love to go on a date with a girl to a strip club. I have no problem at all with that. But most men aren't where we are. Most men live in a place like Des Moines, Iowa, or Secaucus, New Jersey. Most people live in a place like Fargo, North Dakota, and they don't have these options. They will meet one pretty girl in their life. They'll try to marry them. If it doesn't work out, they're probably not going to meet anybody special ever again.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because we came from I came from a small town outside of Chicago.
Okay.
And there was a lot more of that than me or you. And I always struggled understanding it because in turn, those men were the most jealous, possessive freaks you'd ever meet. And it was like, for me, I mean, I'm far from jealous. But that's a great observation.
I'll say something else, Dan. You probably have no trouble having female friends.
I love having female friends more than men.
Right. I'm the same way. Most of my friends are female. You can see women in a way that isn't just as like I say about a lot of guys like having sex with women but don't like women. And there's a lot of females that I really like hanging out with as friends. And because of that, again, you see this whole thing through a different light. Do you understand? A lot of men, they're like, they literally believe every single girl at the Rhino turns tricks every single night.
Which is sad.
Do you understand? They think that.
Which is sad.
Every single girl on OnlyFans does hardcore guy-girl porn and cheats on their men. And they believe that. And if I try to tell them, like, hey, man, I know a bunch of these girls. They make so much money at the Rhino. They're not turning tricks. You're actually wrong about this. They're like, you're a fucking loser. You're an idiot, Michael. You don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, I actually do know what I'm talking about. And like that's the part. Or when I introduce them to a girl who dances, I know one girl dances at Sapphire, and she has a PhD in psychology, and she actually has a blog on psychology. But the problem is she can't make as much money, working as a psychiatrist as she can working at Sapphire. So she works at Sapphire. Right. That's essentially what she does. And so to answer your question, the insecurities come from things like that. They don't have female friends. They're not capable of having them. They're just using them for sex. That's the only reason why they can. And because of that, they're in that 26% that don't have sex with anyone at all, or they've been cheated on before, or something like that happens, and they don't have any abundance in their life, and so that insecurity then causes them to behave the same way. And same thing with women. It's one of these situations where they just like, I'm not gonna tell you, every girl that I've dated, even like partially, like for a small amount of time, there's always something they leave behind in my apartment. There's always there's always like some little thing. I was dating this one girl. We were in an open relationship. She was fully aware I was seeing other women. So she got the biggest, pinkest loofah you've ever seen in your entire life and put it right there so high, like up on my fucking shower, that there's no way she could even reach it. And it was right there for everybody to fucking see. But we're in an open relationship.
But you're open.
We're in an open relationship.
But you're open.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. So
but Dan will say it all the time. He thinks women are the superior sex.
I put women on a pedestal. I mean, I think women are the most, far superior than men. I mean, they're nurturers, they're lovers, they're a lot more pretty. I mean,
I definitely think they're a lot more pretty, and I definitely think they're a lot better at certain things than men are.
Absolutely. I mean, men have their role. I mean, we're the hunter. Like, I get it, but I just think women do so much more than the male sex.
Interesting. I believe that both genders, from an intellectual standpoint, and I'm talking about from a societal standpoint, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics, bringing us into the future, solving things like hunger, solving things like disease. I think we do not take advantage of all the geniuses that live in places like Jakarta, Indonesia, or in the South Sudan, where these women are subjugated and they're mutilated and they're not allowed to get educated. I think in places like that, I heard one of the best solutions I've ever heard for population control, and I am very much in favor over population control. There doesn't need to be 8 billion people on this planet. But the idea was if you gave women more opportunities in places where the birth rate was just skyrocketing, like in Latin America or like I said in Indonesia, then what you'd happen is you'd have women, instead of having like 7, 8, 9 kids, they'd have 2 or 3 or 4 graduate degrees. They'd wait longer to have children. They might have 2 kids, and we wouldn't have a situation where like by the time you and the 3 of us end up dying, there's 22 billion people on this planet and there's not enough food to feed them. And so we have, like, you think pandemics are bad now, just imagine cities with 40 million people in them. That's essentially what would happen. So that's what I think the best way to take advantage. There's too many geniuses that are both genders, but we tend to just notice the ones that are female, right? The first Nobel Prize winner was Madame Curie, right? And who ended up dying of radiation poisoning. But like for that, like there was years where there were no other female inventors, and that was part of the reason why it was, because partly of patriarchy and partly because that's just what some women weren't interested in. But I do agree with you, like it's a situation where like we don't, as men, a lot of times when they see somebody who's as pretty as Claudia or as pretty as Talia or as pretty as Chantel Monique or Linny or Kindly or CJ Sparks or any of those girls, when they see that, they see them as a separate life form. Not the fact that we both have 46 alleles and 23 chromosomes. We're not the same. We're not both Homo sapiens. We're completely different. And so now my voice changes, and I put so much, I changed the way I talk. Just like when like a colonel would walk into the room when I was in the military, my voice would change. Yes, sir. No, sir. It would be very different than it was how I normally would talk. And that's just the way human nature is. And it's unfortunate because what happens now is, like we said before, we end up with these men who are very frustrated because they don't know how to talk to women. And that partially has to do with social media, by the way. Right?
I agree with that for sure.
Passive-aggressive behavior. There was a reason why you went and got into a fist fight after school. You did so because you worked out your problems, right? And you could be, I remember some of the biggest fights I got to in high school. Those are some guys I'm still close friends with right now, because you didn't have to worry about having any kind of secrets, and you dealt with your problems face to face. And now we have people who deal with their problems with burner accounts, or their wives will make burner accounts and like try to stand up for you on Twitter. And I think that's part of the reason. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. A lot of caffeine. Go ahead. Did you have something?
No, I agree.
Beautiful. Competitions.
Yep.
The fitness competition. Were you a fitness competitor?
I was, yeah. Dan was too. Yeah.
Okay.
He actually got me into it. Yeah. I actually got into competing when I moved to Chicago. Chicago didn't have a modeling or entertainment scene at all, right?
Yeah.
So when I moved to Chicago out of LA, I needed something to like fill my time with that still had something to do with aesthetics, I guess. So we owned a gym, obviously, and he's like, like, why don't you get into competing? Like, you stay fit, you could teach women how to, pose and everything, because that's like a big element in competing. And I did it for 6 years, I think. Well,
she's kind of downplaying herself. She was undefeated.
She's undefeated.
I mean, it became a running joke. Like if Claudia showed up at a show, like the girls would be like, all right, I'm getting second. Like, I mean, she was that good.
That's
like I was okay. Like I knew I was never going to be Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
But she could have been in her, in bikini.
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
That's amazing. How long did you do that for?
6 years.
Okay. What was is it stressful? Because I've never got to that level of training. To the diet part seems like that would be the hardest part. Is it the cardio?
It's all mental.
I
mean, yeah, the physical work, yeah, like probably some of my craziest moments were like doing 2 hours of cardio a day. 2 hours of Stairmaster a day, plus a workout and eating 800 calories a day, plus taking, steroids, because, there are things women can take safely, but you still take them. Right. And yeah, all that mentally was just,
I think people have this misconception that competing's healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any elite level athletic, whether that's, Ironman's competing, whatever, it's not healthy. I mean, you're training to go to a certain degree that's just beyond measurable.
I mean, I was 9% body fat at one point. Like that is for a woman.
That's unheard of.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And I mean, she looked like a giant penis. Like there was just so many veins running up and down her stomach. Like it
was gross. I felt like shit. I looked like shit. All the collagen was out of my face. I mean, it was just, it's too much.
Do you remember what cycle you were doing?
Oh my God! Well,
just like Anavar.
Just Anavar?
Yeah,
okay.
Anavar,
women,
GH.
you're not going to be filling up with testosterone, and shouldn't be.
I mean, some women do,
but like, I mean, obviously, like something like a growth hormone has a lot lot of health benefits.
Does it?
In general,
I'm just learning about. I'm 43 years old, and I'm just learning about a bunch.
I mean,
of
I think
stuff.
every man should be on HRT. Like, especially at your age.
Yeah.
But like with women, I mean, or diuretics. I mean, there's only so many things they can really do.
Yeah.
Where the men can turn themselves into pharmacies.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really interesting. I'm just learning about this stuff. I will tell you though, but like getting on TRT about a year and a half ago has changed my life. Like
Absolutely.
it's totally different. Like the I'm lifting more than I ever did when I was in high school.
You probably feel great.
Yeah,
sure.
I definitely feel great. Yeah, it's a huge difference. Just something that I'm kind of exploring, but I haven't really delved into anything outside of what my doctor is. Which
prescribed honestly, like it's really all you should need.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're trying to get to an elite level competing with that 1% of the 1%, the rest of that stuff. I mean, the risk isn't worth the reward, and you're not at that level. So to fight to be a pro card, why put all that in your body? I think, you're doing the best thing, which is testosterone, which is what makes men, right?
Yeah.
But all those other little things, these testosterone derivatives, I mean, it can get a little sketchy.
It can get sketchy. I've actually seen that happen before, where it gets. At first, I was on test and they didn't give me an estrogen blocker, and I was like, "Why am I so fucking angry and saying all this crazy shit? What's wrong with me?" And then they explained it to me. I was like, "Oh, okay, now I understand. Now
I'm balanced out a little bit."
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something else. I have a lot of clients, and sometimes they'll tell me things, and the first thing I'll ask them is like, "I need you to get your testosterone and estrogen checked." And the thing is, they'll always come back with the testosterone number, and I'm like, I understand your urologist doesn't think your estrogen number is a big deal, but it is a big deal, and I need you to tell me what your estrogen level is. And they go back to the urologist, and they're like, why do you want to know this? And what I found Dan, is that like when you deal with like normal healthcare professionals, the idea that you or I would be, let's say if we're in our 40s and our test is like at 200, they don't care.
No, they think it's normal.
They think it's normal.
It's in range.
It's like, hey, your prostate's not swollen. You're not going to get any cancer. You're good. You're no problem at all. Your red blood count your red blood cell count isn't too high. And they're like, yeah, it's not a big deal that your testosterone's at 200. Dude, what about suicide? Are you fucking kidding me? Your test at 200? Like this is I saw a correlation once between men getting into their 50s and then wanting to commit suicide. And I'm like, yeah, it's because their testosterone is just like dropping, and these people just don't care at all. They think it's totally normal for you to be. I know one guy's 25 years old and he has the testosterone of a 70-year-old man, and the fact that his I believe it was a urologist. He may have gone to a rejuvenation clinic. Rejuvenation clinic would have given him test on the spot. The urologist was like, no, you're fine. That's a healthy range. And I'm like, that's not a healthy range.
Well, and remember, there's what's called a healthy range and a healthy range for the individual.
Yeah.
I mean, the average person should never be at a 200 testosterone level, even though the range says they should. I mean, and your normal may be a 500 or a 600.
Yeah.
There's so much misconception. With all that stuff.
Yeah, I just they got me back to 900 and I just stayed there. I didn't want to go any higher than that.
And you really don't need to.
Yeah, but I mean the difference has just been incredible, just because like the only problem I will say is that I've still got the 43-year-old skeleton, right? So I'm playing basketball with the young kids, and I feel like I'm 19 again, and the next day I don't feel like I'm 19 no more.
My body's like, nope.
My body's like, nope. My left ankle's there just for show at this point. Okay, guys, can you talk about the decision to move to Las Vegas? Why was that? You said you moved a year ago today.
Yeah, a year ago today we were on that flight. Had our dog, my mom, all of our stuff.
So when I moved to Chicago, I knew that it wasn't a permanent move. I did that because he had his business out there, and I thought it was a smart thing to do. Us being in the relationship, like he couldn't physically move. Like he had a business he had to run. I could be wherever.
You can only go to Oshaval so many times, right?
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean,
Maple and Ash for us.
Maple and Ash,
Oshaval
for sure. But I knew we decided to sell the gym. We sold the gym in the middle of quarantine, which we still don't know how we did.
July of 2020.
Yeah, we sold the gym. It wasn't even open, and we sold it. So. We sold the gym, and I had a conversation with him. I'm like, I think we're bigger than this city. And we were, because
because we had that conversation about a year before that. Because we're investors in Maple and Ash. Check out Maple and Ash, the one in Scottsdale. So we actually talked about moving to Scottsdale. So at that point, I knew we needed to start working on selling our business. And COVID happened.
Yeah.
Which was a big deal. But we still stayed on track and did end up selling our business. And actually said, okay, it's time to go. And then go on.
Go ahead. You can continue.
Well, so I mean, in conversation with like our accountant family, they're like, "Why Scottsdale? I mean, yeah, you got the restaurant there, but you don't really know anybody. It's not really a modeling scene." And it was actually my mom. She's like, "I think you guys need to go to Vegas." And she had lived here years ago, and she's like, "I don't know if I want to go back to Vegas. I don't want to go back to Vegas."
I was 21. It's.
What did you like or not like about it back then?
I didn't have money back then, so I couldn't enjoy like the nightlife and stuff. So
I got to be honest with you. I think this is the easiest place to live without money.
It's changing though. It's getting more.
If you're a local, they don't charge you to get in anywhere. I get comped everything for everything all the time.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't. I was also with my ex. I just don't think I was in the right mentality. And like when you're young and you don't have a good taste of something, you're kind of like, okay, well, I tried it. I'm whatever. And then actually what really got us thinking about Vegas was this is when OnlyFans was booming, right?
No state income tax.
Yeah. So we were like, we are making a lot of fucking money right now. Like a lot of money. So
we really narrowed it down to what? Florida?
yeah.
Or here. And I'm not moving to Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, for
So we wanted somewhere warm, and our accountant was like, if you guys want to be smart, like, and go somewhere warm, go to Vegas or Florida.
And because he saw in
our
our books, we're in Vegas 5 times a year anyway, right? He's like,
Yeah.
you guys are already there every other month.
Yeah.
Why don't you just live there?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So here we are.
And, we wanted to be close to L.A., but not in L.A.,
Yeah.
and I consider Vegas, L.A. like sister cities. I mean, you're in striking distance. So it just made a lot of sense.
It's crazy. There are 2.2 million people here in the county, I think. And there are 15.5 million people that live in the Los Angeles metropolitan
Which is
area.
crazy.
Which is crazy.
When you think about it, how crazy it is. And then I still think the girls are prettier here, even though they have so many more people there.
Well, and I mean, I feel like with L.A., like, again, the 80-20 rule, like, the only people who should be in L.A. are, like, these guys who sold their app for $400 million.
Yeah, that's what I've said that too. LA is a fun place to live if you have $50 million. If you have $49 million, LA is not a fun place
No one
to
else
live.
should belongs there.
No one.
It's like financially irresponsible
Yeah.
to live in Los Angeles if you're not worth that kind of money.
Yeah.
And people still go there. I don't get it. Where you could live here and have a beautiful life. You could be part of the entertainment industry. You can be part of the porn industry. Whatever you want to do, you could do in Vegas. But they still go to LA.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I don't get it.
I did it.
And
for
I love
10
LA.
years. Yeah, I can't anymore. I lived in Calabasas before I moved out to Chicago, and it's every month my bank account's all red.
Yeah.
Every month.
I mean, for every $100,000 you make, 13 of it is going to that state.
That's crazy.
I mean, like if you're making $1 million a year, $130,000 goes to state where you could live here, make the same amount of money, and you keep $130 in your bank account.
That's crazy, man.
Like I don't understand why people can't rationalize that.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. Is there anything else you guys want to promote?
Come check out my OnlyFans.
Yeah? We didn't talk about that at all.
No,
We didn't talk about my OnlyFans either.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you guys, at the point where you're like, I'm definitely going to do OnlyFans, the person who told you to do it, what you thought it was originally, what you figured out it was afterwards.
Do you remember who told you?
I do remember. This was in 2016. This is when like OnlyFans started. 17 actually. 17 for me. It was Jessie Cakes, Jessica Weaver.
Okay, no, Jesse. Yeah.
We were sitting at dinner with her and JJ.
Now engaged.
Now
Congratulations, they just got
Congrats,
engaged.
guys.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Oh, are you on OnlyFans?" I'm like, "What's that?" And she's like, "Girl, like you could make like 20 grand a month." I'm like, 20 grand a month? Like that's like doctor money. Like who's making 20 grand a month? I'm like,
She's like, I paid my rent last month off OnlyFans. I'm like, what is this site?
I'm like, if you think if I join, can I make like $500 a month? She's like, are you serious?
You make $500 today.
Yeah.
I have a friend of mine. I won't say her name, but she is going to be on the podcast. Wink, wink. She told me the first week because she's a huge model, and she was like, "I will never fucking do OnlyFans. I'll never do it." First week, she made $237,000.
Oh, I know
Yep.
who it is.
First,
We all know who it is.
Week.
Yep.
And she's amazing.
Yeah,
But
she's never done nude. She doesn't do any nude. She doesn't do anything like that. But she's a huge fitness model, and she did it. And then afterwards, she did nothing but talk shit about girls on OF. And then when she started doing it, it was just so crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's changed our lives completely. It's what gave us the flexibility of saying, okay, we could sell the gym and focus solely on creating content.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's all. And so here's another thing. I will say this is a difference between the two of you. You are so into her content, meaning like you'll film it and you'll take pictures and you'll drive her. And I know a lot of guys that are like, they just can't tolerate the fact, oh man, she's going to go, shoot implied with some photographer. And they'll become really jealous and they'll just like try to stay out of the situation or just look the other way or whatever. But you're involved.
He plans my outfits.
There you go.
He tells me what to do. He pushes me to do live streams. He's my biggest support.
but we're teammates.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's a term called Instagram boyfriend.
Yeah. He's an Insta husband for sure.
I'm her Dan Jenner. I'm her
Danager.
Danager.
Danager. Dan Jenner.
Dan Jenner. He knew what I meant, though. He knew exactly what I meant by that.
Yeah, you are. You're
I'm joking, man. I'm joking. I'm sorry.
I'm all set.
No, it's true.
But I mean, OnlyFans is like, it's such a great platform.
Yeah.
I mean, so I'm on there as a fitness influencer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredible.
I mean, he sells workouts.
Yeah.
And people buy them.
And, shirtless selfies and people still buy them. But it's great.
Just as much or as little as you want to do on there.
I love it.
Yeah.
It is.
I love it.
It is a lot of freedom, man. It is pretty interesting. how things were going to change when they said they weren't going to do a guy-girl porn, like any hardcore stuff on there anymore.
For those 3 days?
Yeah, for those 3 days.
That was a very stressful 3 days. And I don't even do porn. And it was very crazy seeing like all my friends that do, just the panic, because people put so much of their livelihood and everything into OnlyFans. Like they're just relying solely on OnlyFans. They're like, what the hell are we going to do?
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard for the average person to even consider you're doing porn with someone you're choosing to do it with, and then you're making $200,000 or $300,000 a month.
Yeah.
And then you like, well, I mean, good for them. They're making that much money, and then that just goes away. For a lot of people, they're like, oh, that doesn't. How boo-hoo? Look at them, making $40,000 a year.
Your life's over.
And then they look at it and they're just like, it's just so hard for them to understand. It's just like, I know this is a weird analogy, but people who lose their money in the stock market and then jump off of a building when they're still worth $10-20 million.
Yeah.
You realize, but they were worth $100 million before, right? Is a situation when this girl is making $300,000 a month or $200,000 a month. What I think happened, honestly, is I know OF was going to go public. I think the underwriting bank probably said, we need you to take the porn out because we're going to go public. There's no publicly traded porn company in the world right now. And also, porn is a way for organized crime to creep into a publicly traded company. So that's probably the reason why. And then once they saw the memes and the incredible outcry and everything like that, the bank probably said, okay, we'll let you guys keep the porn. I think that's probably what.
I'm sure it's bigger than anybody knows. And
sure.
But the reality is, I mean.
Well, here's the crazy part. If they go public, everyone will know. They'll have a 10K. We'll literally be able to see the revenue in the balance sheet for OnlyFans. And I think that's going to be very illuminating for a lot of people.
Yeah.
I mean, we know they ticked over $2 billion. I mean, they disclosed that, which is crazy. I mean, that's a massive amount of money.
Yeah.
It's insane. I mean, I'm very grateful for OnlyFans.
Yeah. I mean, it changed our life.
Yeah.
With no exaggeration.
I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yeah.
Do you guys do anything on OFTV?
We do.
We do, yeah.
So we've worked with them. I was one of their first fitness influencers. They actually came to me when they were trying to bring in more mainstream. So we got into OFTV pretty early. We've done some videos with them.
Incredible.
Cool stuff.
Yeah. Your video is one of like the first videos that OFT I think ever.
Yeah, they filmed it at the gym at the time when I owned it.
Yeah.
We still work with them. They actually emailed me today about some sort of blog they want to do about me. It's a great platform.
Yeah. Coffee and Cleavage, they were the first podcast.
Yeah, they were.
Mm-hmm. And they told me how many subscribers they have. Our episode's going to be coming out October 6th, the episode that they have with me where they interview me. And it gets pretty wild, some of the stuff they asked me. So I thought it was pretty cool.
I mean, aren't they like over 500,000 subscribers or something?
Yeah, 700,000.
That's crazy.
Which is crazy.
They have 700,000 subscribers. I'm very curious to see what those guys are going to think of the podcast that we have. I do occasionally, I will tell you guys.
We're supposed to go on there.
Occasionally I get these messages whenever I interview a certain girl, and they're like from their OnlyFans fans, and they're like, "Fuck you, stay away from her. Get your
they're all protective.
Stay away from my princess. Don't make her laugh like that. That makes me jealous. Fuck you." I get a couple of those. So those are pretty interesting.
The Sims come out.
I love it. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
No.
Good.
Follow our YouTube. Follow our
YouTube.
Yep.
Definitely go to YouTube. It is, what is it?
Just Claudia Fijal TV.
Claudia Fijal TV on OnlyFans. Also, both of you have an OnlyFans.
Yep,
okay. Do you have trouble with it? Does it go Linktree and then OnlyFans? Like, do you have it in the bio?
It's in the Linktree. Yeah.
It's in our Linktree, and for me, like I'm very PG. So
okay.
After losing my Instagram once, I'm like, I'm not.
Okay, so before we go, I do want to cover that. It caused you to change what you were posting?
100%.
Oh, yeah.
So like, what did it cause you to change?
Yeah, I mean, just like I took off like all the implied stuff, implied nudity, like no hand bras, nothing like that. But I definitely do not directly post anything OnlyFans related, like nothing. Like if anything, I do a swipe up to my Linktree, and I'll do it once a month, and I'm terrified the whole 24 hours that it's up in my story.
Now swipe ups are gone.
Yeah, so it's just a link.
Yeah. It just, I don't want to lose the page again.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that even after all the things we said, we're still so terrified.
I know.
Of losing our page. When we call out the hypocrisy, we're still this terrified of losing our page.
That's just how we're wired right now.
It is just so crazy.
It's unfortunate.
You just want somebody else to step up and make a platform. And I'm not talking about TikTok, because TikTok's not it. The DM functions on TikTok don't really work very well. The individual promotion is not really that great. They
don't pay well.
They don't pay well. Yeah. So like TikTok is not the answer. Somebody just needs another like regular photo sharing app where they have all these different platforms, but they go back to the way things kind of were, where you have to prove that somebody's guilty of something before you take their account down. And I think a lot of people would jump over to that.
That's your next venture.
There we go.
Let's go.
I'm on it. Let's do it.
I'll give you $10,000.
I will be sued by by Instagram vociferously the moment I start. That is what's going to happen. Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this podcast. This is great. I love the fact that we're able to have just such a variety of people. Like I said before, we had an ER doctor coming on. We've already had a psychiatrist, or we had a therapist come on. We talked about everything, cluster B personality disorders. Like I said before, we're going to have a flat earther come on. He's begging. The dude messaged me every day. He's like, I want to come on. So I'm excited to have him. We have had girls from Playboy come on. I believe this is you're the sixth girl to come on from Playboy.
Oh, cool.
This is awesome, and I love having that variety of different people come on. So if you guys enjoyed this, please like, please subscribe, please comment, please check me out on Apple Podcasts, please check me out on Spotify, please check me out on YouTube, and I cannot wait for you guys to see what's happening next week. Take care.